All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming. This is the Railroad Engineering Activities Club General Business Meeting for the month of January. My name is Aaron. I'm the president of the club. We got a good presentation here today. We have Christian from Pettibone coming to talk about his experience working on the design of the speed swing rail crane. So exciting piece of machinery. One thing before we get started, I kind of wanted to introduce you guys to our new logo. So this is kind of keeping up with the rebranding. So modified things a little bit, looks a little bit fresh, clean, stands out a lot more, I think. So this is our new logo. You'll see it on your agendas. If you haven't got an agenda, we'll pass it out, kind of go over it. So you're gonna pass these out, make sure people. Yeah, raise your hand if you haven't been here before. Okay, good. Lots of new faces. So what we like to start off with is a safety briefing. What the rail industry does, a lot of times the crews, they'll get together, they'll go over, if they get on a job site, they'll go over, what they need to do on the job, but they also want to make sure that they're aware of their surroundings. So what they'll do is they'll conduct a safety briefing just so everybody knows what to do in the event of emergency. So we're all gathered in a fairly small room. So we'll go over the location. I forgot to fix that. We're not in Fisher 101 anymore. We are in REAC 214, the second floor. Evacuation route, we'll head out these doors. You can either head over to the library or walk out these doors and down either side of the corridors. So in the event of emergency, we're going to walk out this door and we're going to head across the bridge over to the library. And we will congregate on the end of the bridge in the library. That's our meeting location. The reason I asked that we have a meeting location is because in the event of emergency, fire, whatever, we need to make sure that, we have everybody. So I'm going to ask somebody to give a head count for me. Who wants to be a volunteer? Alex will do my head count. Does somebody want to be responsible for dialing 911? Alyssa, I'll have you call 911 if you need it. Now raise your hand if you're CPR qualified. Okay, so in the event you need CPR, we'll look to these people for assistance. AED fire extinguisher, if we need a fire extinguisher, there's a fire extinguisher right around the corner here on the back side of this wall next to the stairway. If we need an AED, we go down to the first floor of Fisher. There's an AED right next to the front entrance there. If you have any medical concerns or allergies, I'm going to ask that you. What's that? Yeah. So if it's too big, things like that. If you have any medical concerns or allergies, I'm going to ask that you write it down on a small piece of paper, pull it up, put it in your right front pocket. If you don't have a right front pocket, put it in your right front shoe. That way, if you go down, we can open that up and alert the authorities if you have any conditions. Are there any questions or comments regarding our safety briefing? Oh, thank you. No? Okay. So we'll get right into it. I introduced myself earlier. My name is Aaron Dean. I'm the president of the Railroad Engineering Activities Club, or REAC, as we like to call it. If you're not familiar, you don't know many of the officers around here, I'm going to call them by name, have them stand up. So our vice president is Alex Christmas over there. Our treasurer is Kyle Dick. He's not here right now. He went to go get pizzas, so he should be here shortly. Secretary, Deja Hall, over there. Our marketing chair is Eric Flodden. Our social chair is Smriti, who is also not present today. And our website chair is Andrew Erickson. So if you have any questions about the club, feel free to talk to any of these guys. They'll give you some more information. One thing I want to mention here is we're also a student chapter of the American Railway Engineering and Maintenance and Way Association. We were the charter student chapter. The very first one started in 2006. We actually just celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year, so they presented us with a neat little plaque. Now, we were the first one. There's now over 20 AREMA student chapters all around universities all over the country. So there's many, there's some perks that are involved in becoming an AREMA student chapter member. There's opportunities for scholarships, industry mentorships, employment opportunities, plus more. And if it's your first time being an AREMA member, your first year membership dues are complimentary. So if you have any questions about that, we do have some member applications. Come up and talk to me if you're interested after the meeting. A little bit about what we do. I mean, we do a lot of things. We go on field trips. Really, the main interest of our members is to obtain a career in the rail industry. We're passionate about the rail industry, and we realize, the potential that it has to offer students like us. We go on field trips to rail industry sites. The Class 1 railroads. They'll offer to, invite us out to their facility, give us a tour, put us up for the night, things like that. We've been to places like Chicago, Omaha, down in Wisconsin, downstate Michigan. All right, everybody. Thank you all for coming. This is the Road Engineering Activities Club General Business Meeting for the month of January. My name's Aaron. I'm the president of the club. We got a good presentation here today. Okay. All right. So, if you have any questions about any of the things that we do, we usually have a smaller fall field trip in the fall semester, somewhere more local, rail facility, usually within the UP or northern Wisconsin. In the spring, we tend to do a larger field trip. We'll go places like I mentioned earlier, like Omaha, down in Chicago, a little bit more spread out. Without further ado, clicker. I'm going to ask our speaker to come up, Mr. Christian Riddell from Pettibone. He's going to talk about the speed swing.
Is there a way to see the next slides just so I can reference it? Yeah. All right. I'd like to thank everybody for inviting me here today. As I said, my name is Christian. I'm the project engineer for the speed swing at Pettibone. Tech graduate. I started at Michigan Tech in 2003. Graduated in 2010 with about 3 years in there as internships. So really not as...
You hit the screen button.
Anyhow. So I guess where we'll go to is a brief overview of Pettibone. Don't mind my transitions. We didn't have cool ones like that when I was in college, so I had to use some of them. So Pettibone is located in Baraga, Michigan. It was founded in 1880 and was incorporated in 1937, originally supplying rail track materials and castings to the rail industry. In World War II, there was some growth manufacturing guns, carriages for the military, which post-war then we expanded into material handling, diversifying portfolio into graders, lifters, loaders, which kind of put us on the path as to where we are today. The 1970s, through business acquisitions, we'd grown to about the equivalent of what Caterpillar was. Now at this time, we were based in Chicago. And then in the late 80s, we were acquired by Heiko Incorporated, who we're still owned by today. And they downsized the company as far as to what was profitable. At that time, the speed swing, which we're going to talk about, was still being manufactured in Chicago. That was moved up to the Upper Peninsula and has been since then manufactured in Baraga. We basically have three different product groups. There's a Pettibone Traverse Lift, which is in Baraga. We have Barco Hydraulics, which is their forestry equipment in Superior, Wisconsin. Then we have Ardco, which is also manufactured in Baraga, but based out of Louisiana, and that's oil field support. You'll see some of those other products in the Ardco, at least, in some of these pictures following. So the carry lift was designed here in the Upper Peninsula, originally for loading and unloading rail cars. It's a forwardly reaching forklift, and it was designed by Phil Latondras, which is my boss, his grandfather, who then sold the rights in 1957 to Pettibone. Those are still manufactured today, mainly used in oil and gas these days. We also invented, there's some disagreement on this, but we claim we invented the Extendo and then the Traverse Lift, which we just today released. We are the only manufacturer now of Tier 4 Traverse Lifts, which debuted today in Las Vegas at the World of Concrete show. And then my project, which is the speed swing. I started in 2014 at Pettibone, and was put on the speed swing line as a designer. And then after about a year, moved into a design engineer position. Since then, we've had some turnover in project engineers. And after the last one, they just said I can do design and project engineering. So I've been very, for like last year, was very thankful. Aaron is my intern for this past year. It's been very helpful. So as far as the speed swing goes, we do have two products. There's the 445, which is very common. The 360, we've built 3 since I've been there, which it's not a very common machine, usually used in foreign countries, which is a 360 rotating machine, whereas the 445 is a 90 degrees in each direction swing boom. So it's a customizable swing boom rail service crane. What does it do? There's about 400 options for the thing, last count according to when I started. So it does pretty much anything you need to do as far as rail service. Primary use will be replacement of track sections, which you'll see in the videos to follow. We sell to a number of different companies. Relam is a rental house that we do a lot of business with. Transit authorities, contractors, private railroads. Some large ones are Railworks, Montana Rail Link, CN, CP, and UP. Which those class 1s, those are what keep me busy. What you'll come to find is that the speed swing is a very custom product. We try and keep it, for our sanity, as similar as possible, but everyone has their own way that they want to do something, and that means more work for us, which is fine. So the speed swing isn't anything new. It was designed in like the 1950s. I don't have an exact date, but I had some older shots here. As you can see, it's evolved over the time, but as we get to some newer pictures, general envelope hasn't changed a whole lot. Kind of if it's not broke, don't fix it. Many of our attachments that we sell to this day are still old prints that I'm pulling up Mylar scans of hand-drawn prints from the 1950s and 60s. So it's kind of neat. So as you can see, we have all sorts of different attachments. Magnets are a pretty common one that we do. Buckets, I'd say magnets are probably the most common. Forks, tow booms, for using with rail threaders. So we got a video here to show you some in action. I don't know if it's going to screw up on feedback or not, but this is a 360 you'll see in the background there. So what we'll do is we'll come through and we'll pop all the clips, hold the rail and drag the old rail section out of the way, and then pull a new rail section in, get it in place, and then use the high rail axles, which are located here, and sit it down underneath to pick the machine up, and they'll use that as a gauge basically to pull the rail into place with it. That's one of our 360 machines. As you can see, the operator station actually rotates along with on the turntable. Part of the things that gets customized, like this hook here, this isn't something that we supply. A lot of these railroads will be customizing machines. Once they get a brand new machine, they'll be cutting a welding on it to make it exactly how they want it. Which it can be interesting because as you'll see, some within a railroad, different gangs will do things totally different ways. So one more that's
say that the machine automatically knows if you're on high rails so that even though the wheels go backwards,
it reverses. No, it just does the lights. eating, I brought some handouts here. I'll pass these out. Yeah, that's pretty cool. There we go. And some of those out if anybody wants, but I know we gave those out in the past, so some people might already have them. Got some jump drives for you.
Oh, thanks.
Hopefully from use, as well as well, I believe the ID holder goes in the back of your cell phone if you.
Thank you. Want to get back? No. Okay.
I said you
Yeah. I'm just a little around. Thank you.
Everybody get a jump drive there and a ID holder for back your phone. Yes, anybody? There you go. Okay, that's fine. Maybe get extra. Did you? Aaron? All right, I'm going to continue on. So having a machine that does so many things, it poses some engineering challenges. First one that we're going to come across is tunnel and track clearance. Third rails have been kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. This is a recent one I just did last week for Montreal Transit, and they're kind of a unique setup as far as the way their trains are. I got a picture following. But first you get to try and do it in French. But they'll give an envelope here of where, it's called a clearance envelope, and we have to fit within there. I've found, for me, it's easier to take these dimensions here and just throw a 3D model together. Prior to me, used to do it in 2D AutoCAD. Just doesn't seem to work as well for me. So this is the train that they're using there now. It's interesting because they have the actual rail, but they're driven with rubber tires here that run on an I-beam, or in other portions of their tunnels was just a concrete pad. So, and then we have the exterior wheels that over centered and run on that, I guess you could call it a third rail. So what I have to do is I have to model a tunnel based on the dimensions they give me. And then I'll put a machine in there together in 3D, and then give them options as far as what we can do for clearance. So with our standard setup, this would have cleared. This is our standard high rail wheel. But our standard tires, this 1400 series tires wouldn't clear. So I do it with 1300 series with a different back spacing. And then I also provided an option over here of a machined hub to get a little extra clearance in there between the third rail. So I'll go through and take some screenshots and send them out a proposal for what we think. Now, this is where those clearance envelopes come into play. Coming back here, we're given 3,500 millimeters max within that clearance envelope. But with modeling that up, there's a little safety factor there because we are actually at 3545 and still have clearance. So it's one of those things where those are set up for running train down there versus doing a maintenance operation. This next one was a little more tricky. We had a third rail set up here that we had to get above. Previous times we've done where we've turned down and be able to squeeze within the third rail, but it was hug tight here. So what I wound up doing was going to a taller track wheel that we had cast, which raised us up, as well as switching to these 1300 series tires because the taller track wheel there increases our top end speed. So by going to a smaller tire, we try and reduce that back down to what's our standard speed on rail. So I just did a little overlay here so you can see the, it's not perfect, but the initial with our standard stuff versus a what we came up with for a solution to their needs, and wound up selling a machine because of it. And so we're doing a lot of custom work to sell, one machine at times. Other times we can sell them what we have in stock. Just depends on the railroad. As I stated earlier, we have like 400 options. A common theme I tell people is, what do I do? I say, try and fit 10 pounds of crap into a 5-pound bag, because I am out constantly looking for places to put things in that machine. For everyone class ones want every option they can get, and there's just not room for it. So I have some pictures here just of a base model 445, as you saw in the video. Standard tote boom with a magnet on there. These are the machines that when we're slow, don't have an order, we'll just build one and stick it on the fence line and wait for an order to come in that we can ship it out right away, or quickly change out say high rails. High rails are either insulated or non-insulated for the signaling portion of the track. Standard, they come just a standard frame. We have a large back end option that most of the class ones get, actually all the class ones. Standard, halogen lighting, AC is standard on it. We do have an option without AC in case we need it for rail clearance. I just had Aaron switch to a different style AC for a little better clearance in the tunnels. This seems to bite us sometimes. So overall, pretty basic machine when we compare it to a CN, CP, UP. So this is a CN machine. You'll notice a lot of different options here. They have, spec'd these a high rail hitch here, some tie down points. They put a pintle hitch on the front, shorter tote boom, cab pressurization, a hydraulic pump here for a kidney loop to filter hydraulic fluid. They have their own light bars with all LEDs, a hydraulic cooler, hydraulic tool spool for running tools while you're working on the rail, which requires that cooler, otherwise it gets too hot to hold onto the tools themselves. They required a tow bar to be included on the machine, a tire carrier. This is for removable vise, which they just switched back on me now that they want it welded to the frame. So constantly, every year, developing at least a couple new things for every order. They have fender flares. And this is our Sieb iMag that we just switched to in the last year or so. Previous machines was a standard generator. This is all solid state controlled with a big box mounted to the back of the cab. This was a lot nicer, but that's something where we're trying to standardize it. And if you want a magnet, that's where it goes, which is currently kind of presenting some design challenges with CP because they never used to have a magnet, and now they ordered one this year, and they were adamant about their tool spool being there. So I'm trying to come up with something to fill that solution as far as how to keep the magnet there and get a tool spool where they feel it's still useful to them. Lots of striping for safety on there. Wrong way. Then CP, this is a whole different bag of worms. They have a back end, but it's completely different with a tire carrier off to the side. Notice a lot of the options are the same. Although they have a AAR coupler for moving trains, as well as a train air system. And then because they didn't have, this is an older one. Let's see, did they have a magnet? No, I didn't. Okay. Because they didn't have a magnet, they can have that tool spool there. But now that they want the magnet, I'm stuck with that to go there, so I got to find a place for this tool spool. So within the last year, we worked on developing a new frame. We called the modular frame. I tried to do a lot more bolt together, where we can still build a stock machine, and then if a class 1 does come to order it, it makes it easier to make these changes. This is an Arco machine that you'll see in the background. So a number of changes on this. We changed the high rail lock system, which is kind of hard to see here. Previously used to be pins, and if an operator happened to have the locks in and power through it, they'd wind up ripping the frame open. They'd rip the hole right in the frame. So went to a bracket that's easily replaced, and then it's just a chain on the high rail that drops through this keyhole. A little better for parts sales, a little better for, if an operator screws up, it's less damage to the machine. And then just try to do as many bolt-on components as possible with this bolt-on hitch in the front. CP, their order, I just had to develop a bolt-on rail pusher box that goes on there. We switched the step to bolt-on, rear steps to bolt-on, as well as this platform is now a 3-piece modular system. So you have a left wing, a right wing, and then the main back portion. And then Aaron is in the process of developing a new tire carrier for me that'll be bolt-on as well. This here, in case you're wondering, is our Tier 4 after treatment system to comply with EPA regulations. That was a fun one to do. Pretty much everything with Cummins is they're very strict as far as it's their butt on the line for our emissions. So they're really strict as to how we have to design the system and meet their regulations. And then once you get everything designed, they have to come out and do the testing. There's, your downpipe can only be so long because you can have so much heat loss through there. And it was just a lot of challenges dealing with installation for that. So I don't want to bore you too much with this. They have a PA system and siren on the top. Again, they use a light bar. So not only do the railroad industry drive our changes, but sometimes government does. In Australia, this has been a big project for me for the last year. They recently had an accident, in 2012. There was an accident occurred in Western Australia in which a worker was killed. What happened was there were 3 vehicles traveling in a convoy on high rail. The first one got off the rail just fine. The second one had issues, and then the third in line couldn't stop and struck the second vehicle, injuring a worker who later passed away. So you can see right here, it was no small little bump. What's interesting is there are a number of of things that went wrong. First one is they found that he tested positive for active and inactive cannabis. So the guy was high. Always got to work in some cheats and trying if you can. But so that to me is a first flag. Secondly, the front brakes had been removed. The rear brakes weren't in good working condition on the vehicle that struck the second vehicle. The vehicles weren't being inspected on the daily, as well as they were not following their operator's manual as far as traveling with the heaviest vehicle first, working down to the lightest. They had other things listed in the report as far as communication problems. They had, were not responding that they had received the communication from other operators to stop, as well as they had not received any additional training since their initial training. So the solution is more safety systems for me to come up with, which was fun because, as we've already covered, there's not a lot of room for stuff on here. So what they're requiring is one park brake per high rail axle and one service brake. The park brake has to automatically apply when the operator leaves the vehicle, engine shuts down, be it emergency stops pressed or the engine dies. And then a vigilance system, which we do not have on the speed swing if that time's out. There's also a speed indicator showing if the park brake is engaged or disengaged, and then meet deceleration requirements, which in the testing, you just have to do a load test on the brakes. So that was 1,300 pounds for the service brakes, and then about 2,000 pounds for the park brake. Well, the fun part was retrofitting all the machines that are already in existence in Australia, because we've been selling them there for over a decade. Pettibone used to be really good for just doing changes on the fly, not perfectly documented. So trying to figure out what we have there and coming up with a design that we can use going forward as well as implement going backwards was no short of a challenge. But we did manage to come up with a disc brake system. And this was kind of done on the fly. I threw the idea out there to my boss. They were going to contract somebody in Australia to do it. And they were taking a little longer than our customer wanted. And so they said, run with it. And that's where we ran. So what we have is on our standard high rail wheel. We machined the face and then drilled and tapped it for an adapter hat, I call it, which then the rotor is bolted to. Typically, as you've seen in previous pictures, we have a guard coming out here. And so what I did was utilize that hole as well as some strengthening in the high rail rocker, which we found through FEA, in order to make this the front brakes. And then on the rear, we just have it well done with a micro brake caliper. So ran FEA on them, discovered we needed to add the support in here, beef some stuff up a little bit. But all in all, a pretty good safety factor. So we did kind of a on-the-fly parallel path, did an install on a new machine while building the kits and shipping them down there. So it was a headache for me. We were shipping kits while I was making sure they even worked. But it was a rush for Australia. This had passed and we knew it was coming, and people put it off and it fell on me. But it seems like it's gonna work. I know they're just starting their install down in Australia now. But we did test it, the new machine, and it passed with flying colors. In a video of that, it's nothing really exciting. What we had to do was we parked it on a section of rail that we had, and then took one of our extendo machines and with a load cell pulled on the machine to establish the total force available with our parking brake and then our service brake. So the parking brake can stay a full lockup. As you'll see here, it just skids once the friction force between the track and the high rail wheel is exceeded. The service brakes, part of the regulation is they cannot lock up. So we have I developed an Excel spreadsheet to use the weight and the bias of the machine target pressure for our brake system as far as their service brake pressures in order to so I was relieved when that worked. So then lastly, amongst the railroads themselves, rail gangs all do things differently. So we'll send our service guys out in the field and they'll ask, why are we, supplying them with, certain pieces of equipment, they don't even use it. The CP curve gangs, they completely remove that AAR coupler, which is $4,000 option, and stick in a warehouse. They don't even use the air system that comes on the machine. So that's $5,000. It's $9,000 that CP is spending for these machines that aren't even being used. So if you wind up working for one of these class ones, it'd be great for your side and ours if you could, get some communication better between the purchasing department and who's writing these specs and the guys who's actually using them. Some of the CP machines, they order them with these tire carriers, and they'll have a dedicated service truck that changes tires for them. So they take the whole tire right off, throw it in a truck, and when they get a flat, this truck comes and changes it. So that's just cruising down the rail with no tire on there. UP, as you'll see in the following picture, they completely removed the tire carrier and just threw a hook in there with a clevis. So CN, they remove and modify the high rails that they just started, the hitches that I pointed out earlier. They just started requiring those 2 years ago. Who spec'd them? I don't know, but we've been supplying them and they've been complaining about them. As far as the rail gangs go, they get in the way here. These guys left it on, but they completely build the structure onto the front of their machine to use some other equipment on the rail and then modify to clearance that. Other gangs, this is totally, something they add on. It's just a water tank that they have a pump and a hose reel for putting out fires on the rail. So everyone's customizing these things different to suit their needs, even amongst the rails, different companies. So, it'd be nice if we could make everything exactly as to what they need, but we do what we can from what the suggestions they give our guys in the field when it comes back to engineering. Lastly, sometimes things aren't used as far as what you plan for them to be. I apologize, it's kind of a grotesque picture, but this was in Montana 2 years ago, and I ran across this article that the train that hit a herd of moose, killing 43 or elk. I'm sorry, killed 43 elk. So they sent our speed swing out there to pick them up and throw them on the other side of the highway where no one could see them. That was a new one. But that is all I have. If anyone has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Yeah.
How many do you make a year?
It really varies. When I started, we were maxed out. We were doing about 50 per year, but 25 of those were going to Relam as they were building up their fleet. And then, so now we're back to about 20 a year. So it's enough to keep me busy. And if we start ramping up again, we're going to definitely need additional help here. But
How much does the base model cost?
you're looking around 250,000, depending on options. But that's what I generally say is the range. So you can go up to, I'm trying to think, 3. I don't see too many of the actual pricing through a sales department, but when we do get an order, our sales guy he forwards the spec to me. I have to review the entire spec, and then I will write up an exceptions sheet. It says what we will comply with as far as their spec, and then what we take exception to and what we're not going to do. Then I put together a bill of materials, basically build a whole machine with all the options that they want. Estimates if it's new, new options that we might have to roll some engineering time into. That goes down to accounting. Accounting costs everything, comes back up, and then goes out to back to our sales guy, and he marks it up and delivers it to the customer. So there's a lot to keep me busy on the day-to-day. That's one thing that I guess I never thought of going into engineering, was there's a lot more paperwork and a lot less fun design stuff than I ever imagined. But that's just part of the job. And when you do get in on the bottom, you get to do a lot more design. As I've progressed up, there's less and less that I get to do. But I try and get in there every chance I get, which being just me right now is a lot. Anybody else? Yeah.
How much can you pull when you're on the rail in terms of like with the coupler?
Oh, what was it? I cannot remember. It's been a while since I looked that up, what our tractive drawbar effort is. I will get back to you on that though.
Just let Aaron know.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
How long does that process take from the time that you get the order till you get to review it, turn it around, and send it back to the...
It depends how busy I am and how much our sales guy is harping on me. But I can turn them around within, usually a day, depending on how large the spec is and how much it's changed. If it's a previous customer, I'll throw them into Excel or to Word and do a comparison and see what the changes are from previous specs. And then I can usually grab an old machine and use that as my base, make whatever changes I need and get that out to accounting within a day, 2 days maybe. And then he can usually turn it around in a day or 2 days. So within a week, usually we can get out a quote, no problem. Yeah, that's it.
So how different is it to work with the Class 1 railroads versus like the transit agencies versus some of the other entities who get the machines?
What we've run into a lot with the transit agencies that's different is the Buy America standard. A lot of these transit agencies are getting federal funding. Buy America states that a certain percentage of your machine has to be manufactured in the United States, and it's a big bill as far as detail of how you can say how much is made in the U.S. versus how much is sourced foreign, how you define it. We actually have our legal department looking into it right now. We have an expert actually on staff that's coming up with whether we can say we comply with it or not. We have a competitor that when the speed swing was moved from Chicago up to the Upper Peninsula, they didn't want to leave, so they started their own company called Swingmaster, and they're still built in Chicago. So we've gone into some bids with them where they'll say that they're Buy America approved. I question it, but it's not something that we want to challenge, because we don't know if they could come back at us with times that we've said we fit stuff. But as far as the Class 1s, those are they're not bad. They're all pretty, you think that you're working with the same people pretty much year in, year out, and you develop a relationship with them. And they're understanding as far as what you can and can't do. After a while of saying, no, we're not going to do this, no, we're not going to do this, finally, CN this year kind of put their foot down a few things, said, okay, we need you to do this. And so say, all right, we'll do it. And so there's some things that we're doing for CN this year, but it's kind of a little dance you do back and forth of trying not to bury yourself and give them everything that they're asking for, and versus keeping the customer happy.
Do any of the field modifications that you were showing, that the crews use, ever become standard features that you?
Yeah, there have been, not since I've been there, but there have been some things as far as like the tote boom that have come back. UP, they have modified the ears on their tote booms to something they thought was stronger, which arguably it probably was. So I made that change. They wanted us to do that change, so I made it across the board for our entire line. But when we see something in the field that like the rail pusher boxes, those were something they were adding on themselves, and then we implemented it as an option where we can supply that to them. So if it's something that's used on the regular that we see as something we could sell or just as a product improvement, we will implement it. Anybody else?
Question? All right.
All right, well, thank you for having me.
All right, we're just gonna move into some club business, so feel free to get up, grab some more pizza. I'm sure there's plenty of pizza left. So I'm gonna actually have Dave, our REAC advisor, come up and while you're getting pizza, come up and talk about some of the things going on with the rail transportation program.
What am I supposed to talk about?
Whatever's on the board there.
Classes. We've got classes that are offered for rail transportation right now. We've got our transportation design classes running right now. Classes teaching that and our introduction to transportation. Now on the slide here, those would be CE 3490 and 4407. For next fall, we'll be having the 4404 road engineering is our required class for the rail minor if you're getting that. 4402.
We'll see you Thursday. Sounds good. Thanks for coming.
Traffic engineering is an option that you can use to fill one of the electives for the rail minor. And 3401 is the transportation, which is another possible elective for the rail minor. Transportation careers night. I'm going to let Aaron and Alex talk a little bit more about that later. That's coming up on the evening of career day, of career fair. Gives you an opportunity to come in and talk with some of the folks from the rail industry and other transportation companies in a more relaxed atmosphere than career fair. Don't have to bring a suit. You don't have to wear a tie. As a matter of fact, we may cut off your tie if you show up with one, so don't do that. And gets the rail industry and the other folks down here to talk with you guys. That will be in DHH, and I'll let you guys talk about that more after I'm done. As part of that, and getting ready for career fair and getting ready for that transportation careers night, I would like to get a resume from everybody who's involved with REAC. Put together a resume book. I'll provide it to all of the companies that are involved with that. And also to some of the other companies that we work with on a regular basis. If they've got some idea of who's out there and can get you a leg up with getting a job or an internship down the road someplace. So I'll be looking for that. Should see something on the mailing list probably in the next day or two on that. Planning committee is the committee for Transportation Careers Day. I just need to see if I've got anything else that they need to talk about. Posse, do you want to talk about scholarships for the spring?
Scholarships, the winners will be announced very shortly.
Okay. Do you want to say anything about that?
Internal scholarships.
Yes.
Then there's going to be, for the Amtrak, our senior scholarships are coming up. Arima is going to probably tell their winners next month.
Right. So just information, there are a lot of scholarships that are available from the rail industry. Arima, the American Railway Engineering and Maintenance Way Society, has about 35 to 38 scholarships that they offer each year. 3 or 4 of those are usually dedicated to students from Michigan Tech. We've done pretty well with those in the past, so we encourage people to do that, but that's already gone for this year. Those will be, that cycle for those scholarships starts in December, cutoffs in December, and the selections are in the first part of the year. Other scholarship programs that I know of that are coming up, CN, Canadian National, has a scholarship program. Those usually close in March, I believe. So it'd be spring application. Talk to me about it if you're interested in getting one of those in. I'll show you where to find the information. I'll also be sending out a note to everybody with all the scholarship information that I know of. Amtrak just let us know also that they have a scholarship opportunity for anybody, for students in either business or engineering, 2 different categories there. You can apply for both. and they have awards of up to $5,000 per year for that. The requirement there, I think, is about a 500-word essay. So if you think about that for a minute, how long does it take you to write a 500-word essay? An hour, maybe 2 hours? $250 an hour? You can probably live with that kind of payback on things. Something that we'll be looking for over the summer, if anybody is going to be here over the summer, doing a part-time job, taking classes, whatever, I have a need for one person to be helping out with the rail program over the summer. That would be a part-time job, maybe up to about 20 hours a week. And it would be a full-time for at least 2 weeks over the summer. One of those weeks would be working with our summer youth program. The other week would be working with our Michigan Rail Conference. So if you're interested in that, let me know. And ENSCO just let us know that they have some job opportunities for computer science majors. They're really looking for somebody to fill those. They may have some intern opportunities as well. Questions?
Computer engineering, I think I'll probably,
Yeah.
somebody is surprised. ENSCO is one of the big technology providers for the railroad industry. They do a lot of inspection technologies, pretty high level, and also a lot of predictive analytics and all kinds of things. So
If you're looking for high-tech stuff, they're up there on the cutting edge of that stuff. The rail industry. Okay, I'll let you guys talk about. Where's my?
Oh, go back.
All right, so we have Transportation Careers Night coming up, and I think a lot of you know, those of you who have been with us for a couple of years know that there's usually a Railroad Careers Night in the spring, which is the same time as the Career Fair. This year we're expanding a little bit more. We're with ASME and ASCE. So it's kind of the same idea, DHH Ballroom on the night of Career Fair. So after Career Fair, that's when the event is from 6 to 9 p.m. We don't have a whole ton of details yet because we're still in the planning process. But the one thing we are going to offer this year is you can submit your resume to us, and then we will give it as a packet to all of the companies that come. That's kind of a way to get your resume there without having to tote them around. But I can say from experience, it's a really good opportunity to go and talk to people because we all know how Career Fair can become a zoo pretty quickly a lot of times. And a lot of the recruiters who will be more, if you're looking for an intern and they're kind of looking for a full-time job and they kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll apply online and go away. They're actually more likely to talk to you for a little while because they have the time and the availability to kind of do that. So it's a very low-stress way to kind of handle that. So there'll be more information coming out about that. Posters, you'll see them around campus. That's what I think that's that.
Yeah, if you're interested in helping out, we have, plenty of stuff to do. So with marketing and, getting hold of companies, make sure they know where to go, things like that. So if you're interested in helping out, just let me know after the meeting. All right, with that, I'm going to have Kyle give our budget update. Okay, Kyle says no. So I'll go ahead and give our budget update and put this together. We got a lot to cover here. We didn't cover the food and drink from December. We also had our gift cards for our fall semester giveaway. And also we got our AREMA reimbursement from our travel to the AREMA conference in Indianapolis. And a couple other housekeeping things, and we obviously food for this January GBM. And that's our current account balance. We still have some money left from the USG as well. And also, just wanted to kind of keep you guys updated. We are doing a joint fundraising venture with 3 other organizations from the civil engineering department. And we have apparel for sale. If you follow that URL down there, it'll take you to the online store. Now, all proceeds just go to benefit these 4 CEE organizations. The proceeds are split equally. And we are just getting ready to submit another order. We're done taking orders right now. We're getting ready to put it in. And then we should be getting those by the end of January. Now, if you're interested in ordering something, go on the store. Our 3rd order will close the end of February, and that will be for delivery around mid-March. So if you're interested, go on the website. And if you have any questions, just let me know. All right. And now it is time for our raffle event. So I was going around passing out raffle tickets earlier. We're raffling off a mystery prize sponsored by BNSF. Now this is really interesting because our 3D printer guru over here thought it would be a good idea to print an enclosure around our prize. So when you get it, you just break it open and you'll see what's inside. So we're gonna go ahead and draw for that raffle. Mr. Vice President.
Ticket number 280-947.
There you go, right there.
You need to be your guinea pig. See if you can open it.
Well, you want to try and open it along the.
Is it gonna work out, or is he gonna have to break it?
You may need the leverage.
We have plenty of black band-aids.
Yeah.
Just pliers, so don't hurt yourself.
Dave, do we need a waiver for this?
There you go.
This is what happens if you print at 100% density.
Well, it's half a millimeter thick, so it shouldn't be that hard to break.
Yeah, there's some insult to injury there, bud.
Yeah.
I think that's why you said they tried to break it at the end.
Try to shake it out.
You just break it along the grain.
Yeah, maybe we should
Next
just.
30 minutes, we will all observe.
Yeah.
The raffle.
Go help him out. Maybe we should try. Maybe
Your
we should. Maybe we
design
should.
tolerance was a little too close to the napkins. Oh, did you already?
Maybe we should.
Yeah, there's napkins in the back.
Should have done a prototype.
That was the prototype.
Yeah, that is the prototype.
Obviously.
Hopefully you found opening it as
Discussion
much fun as
Christian on
Yeah.
how to give some flexibility.
Yep.
But it's still in one piece.
Yeah. So thanks BNSF for the gift card to give away to you guys. They've been a pretty good. They usually come to our transportation careers night, and they got some guys at the career fair sometimes. So just trying to strengthen our relationship with. They came to the rail night last fall. So yeah, thanks to them. Moving on, a couple other things. Next month, speaker to be announced, but the date on that is February 16th, 7 p.m. And just a quick show of hands. For some of you are familiar with our Fisher 101 past location. Do you guys think it's better to have this one, Reiki 214, as opposed to Fisher 101, or should we go back to Fisher 101? So show of hands for 214. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And show of hands for 101. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How many people know what room we're talking about?
Reasoning for switching?
This room has a camera
Yeah.
and better seating layout.
The live stream?
Yeah, we were able to, and we might base this decision on, because we're able to look at some of the analytics of the live stream, see how many people actually go on there and take a look at it, and we can base that
Did
decision
you
on.
advertise this to other REAC students like this?
No,
can't.
this is kind of our
Test.
test.
Yeah, but it's recorded. It's recorded so that- yeah.
And I would see that benefit.
Right.
If it makes you feel happy, we've had 15 people,
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
and I just posted all the stuff at 6, right before
That's
6.
great.
So we can, and it's recorded, and we
I'm
can
going to Reiki now.
we can share it with the other student chapters around from the other universities. So, all right, and with that, thank you guys for coming.
I do think for February, there's a good chance that we're gonna have Christopher Farmer from CN
Okay.
as a guest. speaker.
Christian knows him.
That's right. That's why I know him. He's the maintenance and equipment manager for CN. He
coming. Be safe getting home.
Did you talk about the field trip?
Yeah, that was the other thing we forgot to mention. Spring field trip. If you're interested in going, come see. We have a couple ideas tossed around. The dates for that are April 5th through the 8th. That would be a Friday, Thursday evening, Friday, Saturday, coming back Sunday. We have a couple ideas going around. We're looking at going down to Monroe, Michigan, which is just south of Detroit. They have the DTE coal facility, Port of Monroe, and potential skip over to Toledo to visit the Jeep facility. Another option we're looking at is the Minnesota Iron Range, going over to Duluth, BNSF, CN. They have some ore docks out there, stuff like that. So if you're interested, come talk to me after the meeting. We'll have a more official sign up at our next meeting, and we'll have a decision on the location by then. So those are the dates. Remember those dates, April 5th and 8th. So, thank you.